morning and welcome to CTV, the Christian Trucker Vlog. My name is Lee. I am first and foremost a Christian, second of all a father of two gorgeous and amazing daughters, and third a long-haul truck driver who travels the Pacific Northwest and Western Canada. This morning I have a load of lumber from Castlegar. It's fir 2x4s, some 16-foot, some 12-footers and some 10-footers. And they're going to Yakima, Washington this morning. I'm going to be there at 8:30. I'm on the I-90 heading west. And if I continued on this road, it would take me into Seattle in about 3 hours. But in about 2 hours, I'm going to be heading south. I'm not going over the Snoqualmie yet. I'll probably end up going back north, then over the Snoqualmie. But for now, I'm turning south to Yakima, Washington. And then we'll see where we're going from there. They may end up sending me, who knows where. Things worked out really well for me yesterday. Castlegar had a snowpocalypse or a snownado, I'm not sure which. The night before, while I was sleeping snug as a bug in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And when I got there, the roads were nice. But I tell you, there was a lot of stories about Trail in Rosslyn Hill being a real monster yesterday. I'm thankful that I missed all that. Thank you, Lord. I was reading in Psalm 94 this morning, and the psalmist begins it by calling God of vengeance. And then he goes on to basically tell God why God should avenge them, and how it would be very good for God to avenge Israel. And, I kind of thought, how often do we call God by what we want God to be? God of love. I hear a God of love an awful lot, and it's human nature, I think, to kind of assert that God is on our side and God is what we want Him to be. But I remember reading, and I can't remember where I read this, God is pronouncing a judgment against someone, and He's saying with some anger, you thought that I was just like you. And that really stuck with me. God is telling, I forget who it was, I'll have to look it up. He's saying, you thought I was just like you. And I think that's a tremendous mistake we can make, is to think in any way that God is like us, because He's not at all like us. He doesn't think like us. His ways are not our ways, and we need to always hold on to that and understand that. God is not like us. And it's very healthy to go through scriptures like a child, being humble and allowing the scriptures to reveal to us who God is. I see a God of love in many places. I see a God of vengeance in many places. But God is not one-dimensional. God is many things. And all the scriptures testify to God's nature. And I think, one other thing I'd like to add is that people say, well, the God of the Old Testament is so harsh and Jesus is so merciful. I don't get it how they're the same. And I don't know, I think it's more because we're listening to society and to culture and not to scripture, because Jesus was severe at times too. Jesus was incredibly loving. God is incredibly loving. Jesus has times where He's very harsh. He goes into the temple with a whip and starts throwing tables over, and he's a bull in a china shop in there. I see Him talking to the Pharisees, and I can hear the hostility in His voice as He calls them all vipers and tombs full of dead men's bones. You can hear Him screaming with anger. And also when God told Israel to go in and spare nothing with the sword, if you don't have a full understanding of what was happening there, you can see it as being very harsh. But really, it has to do with a bloodline that doesn't belong in humanity. The giants were not specifically and strictly human. And I'll get into that another time, but that DNA, that giant DNA did not belong in humanity, and God wanted to eradicate that bloodline. And that's what that was all about. He did not want that bloodline to carry on. And that's why everything was destroyed. So when we take the entire scriptures and allow them to mold our understanding of God, we see that Jesus of the New Testament and God of the Old Testament are one and the same. And if we have a full understanding, which we never will, we only see partially now, we only see dimly, then we will see in full and we will understand in full. And things like this, like the fact that there was a DNA in humanity that God did not want there, and that's why every man, woman, and child in some places were eradicated. When we have a full understanding, we'll see fully that God was just in all he did. Everything God did was good, and we'll realize that. So I am 2 hours away from my unload this morning, and then from there we'll see where we're going. I imagine it will be to Seattle, but it may be down to Oregon. Usually I would expect it's called Moriachi Tube Steel in Oregon. We hauled a lot out of there until the steel tariffs. Then all of a sudden we don't haul anything out of there anymore. So I think we're all hoping those steel tariffs go away, but at the same time, I don't see anything changing soon. So, anywho, I will see you guys down the road.
Before I bring my need, I will bring my heart. Before I lift my cares, I will lift my arms. I wanna know you, I wanna find you in every season, in every moment. Before I bring my need, I will bring my heart and seek you. Speak a word, let me hear your voice. And in the midst of pain, let me feel your joy. Ooh, I wanna know you, I wanna find you in every season, in every moment. Before I speak a word, I will bring my heart and seek you. Treasure and my reward. Let nothing ever come before. You are my treasure and my reward. Let nothing ever come before. I seek you. I
on I-82 East, which has been taking me south for 30 miles now. I have 18 miles to go until I deliver, and from that point on, from Yakima on, I-82 does in fact go east. But currently it's I-82 south. I don't care what the signs say. It's quite beautiful country out here. It looks like lovely weather today. Unfortunately, Snoqualmie is still under chain-up. I'm hoping by the time I turn around and head back there that it's cleared up, but we will see. Last time I ended up chaining everything up and going all the way up on wet roads. It was a little bit, it's hard on your chains. It takes an hour to put all 6 chains on. You have to do both drives and the trailer. And to get there and find out it was for naught is a little frustrating. There was a new Walmart driver who had a brand spanking new set of chains he put on that were put on so sloppy that they were just about falling off. And I thought, man, I need to follow him and I'll get myself a new set of chains. But he didn't even leave the chain up area and pulled back in and put them on a little better. But not that I wouldn't have followed him to return them. What were you thinking? So we're almost there to our unload, and I imagine lumber loads go off really quickly. I pull my straps in a forklift. It's 14 lifts of lumber. Some lumber yards have a forklift that'll do 2 at a time. There's typically where I go to the receiver, typically it's a building supply or something along those lines, and the forklifts are a little smaller. So it'll probably be 1 lift at a time, but still 14 bundles does not take long at all. And we'll work our way north and see what kind of adventures we have to look forward to. I met my customer, and it's a small little business, and I parked right beside it, ran in to see where the entrance was and how it all works, and I figured I'd share it with you just to give you insight into what to look forward to if you're considering a Class 1 driving career. I won't be able to make the entrance from here. I've got to back up. It's all nice and clear. Thankfully, this is a quiet little stretch, so I can go ahead and take the whole road. So I'm going to back up, give myself lots of room.
700 feet, turn left.
The name of the game is to have the trailer in that outside lane when I turn in. The road is still completely empty, so I'm just going to move over, get over as far as I can on the right side, and I want the nose to go as far as possible before starting into the turn. See, there was a car coming up on my right side, and that worked good. I'm in the driveway without I've got about a foot to their curb and the hedge there, so nothing damaged. I just wanted you to see that, just so you know. Setting yourself up is the most important part to backing in or pulling in. It's all about the setup. If you set yourself up properly, you'll do very well. So, just getting some info from the boys there. He saw me go around. So, that's cool. Cool, blue collars stick together, man. Tight little yard, but pretty standard, pretty normal. Those are interesting trees. I'm not sure if I should go right around the corner to the other side or not. I'm going to get out from here, poke my head around the corner. Now, typically when I'm in a customer's yard, I'll look and see how they're decked out with safety gear. If they're wearing hard hats and reflective vests, I'll do the same. These guys are pretty relaxed, so I'm going to leave it at that. starting up Snoqualmie, and there's no chain up. I'm very happy about that. Wet roads, and when it says truck 60, that means there's just no bad road conditions whatsoever. We can just give her. So that's going to put me into Seattle around 1. And I'm really excited to see what's coming next. I really don't want a Prince George run. I calculated it in my head, and I'm not going to be able to get up to the border till tonight. And leaving the border tomorrow morning, I don't even know that I can get to Prince George. They stop unloading at 2 p.m. I don't know that I can get there by 2 p.m. to unload. And that would probably mean dropping my trailer there and bobtailing home, which, no thanks. Mind you, the company is so good that I would probably get paid the miles bobtailing there and back. They cover my empty miles at full rate. They're just such good people, amazing people. I know a lot of people who are Christians in name only, and when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, they can be pretty ruthless, but it's not the case with these guys. They're very honest, very hardworking, very humble people. Some of their employees drive a lot nicer vehicles than they do, and very down-to-earth and approachable and fun to talk to. So this is Snoqualmie. I'm sorry it's not much to look at today, is it? Sometimes the snow throwers are fun to watch. They can really throw that snow. That's about a good 50-foot arc. Pretty cool. On a sunny day, this would be spectacular. Today, spectacular just isn't the right word to describe it. So I'll let you know when I get to Seattle. We find out what's going on. Fire up the camera just to catch this. My GPS, I thought for sure I took the 5 south towards Portland and then went straight on to the West Seattle Bridge. But I was stupid and followed my GPS, and it says no problem. So I figured I'd turn it on and we'd all have a look and see what happens here. Safeco Field.
In 900 feet, turn left on First Avenue South.
Now, I do believe First Avenue goes right up to West Seattle Bridge. That is my hope. I have been down here before. This isn't where I really, it was several blocks that way. I had a total catastrophe. I was down here on my first little visit when I was first training for these guys and getting familiar with Seattle. And it went all right. Yes, I went by the King 5 studio before, and I know I can go right up to First and turn right onto West Seattle Bridge. But it was a heart attack. Seattle has these little e-bikes and pedal bikes that they provide, and people can just take them. There's one over in that corner too. People can take them, pedal them around to where they're going, drop them off for someone else. It's really a neat idea. And I'll tell you, most of the time in Seattle, I would opt for a bike over a car. I wouldn't own a car if I lived and worked in Seattle. I wouldn't own a car. It's pointless. You sit and burn fuel and pay high amounts of insurance and everything else. I really honestly think big cities need to rethink their commuting, and it needs to go 3-dimensional. I picture like chairs going along, or a little canister or whatever, commuting people above the streets in every direction. I think something needs to be done, because it's mainly commuting to and from work and around town for the things they need. If it was just commercial access and tourism, the streets would be a lot clearer. It would be a lot better, and a lot less fuel, a lot better for everyone. But unfortunately, that's kind of a futuristic wish right now. So we'll just calm down and keep dealing with things the way they are, hey? But I'll tell you, I'm not a city guy. I don't like the city that much. I used to live in Abbotsford and deliver groceries throughout the downtown Vancouver area. Absolutely loathed it. And the little suburb of Abbotsford where I lived actually was getting to be a problem with crime. So we moved out of there. We left there for a small town because it was getting to be a crime place, and it was the Bible Belt of the Lower Mainland.
1 mile. Go straight on. First Avenue South.
I like the way she really knows her stuff. And one day in particular, I went out and noticed a man sitting in a van. My older daughter and her friend were playing outside. The littler ones were all inside, and the older girls were 10 and 11, I believe, at the time. And this van is parked at the curb, and it's a fourplex we lived in. And I was really curious as to what on earth they were doing. And I went out to talk to the guy, and as soon as I got close, he drove away, which was quite scary. A little creative driving there. As soon as he saw me approaching his van, he drove away. So what does that tell you? I don't think he had the best intentions in mind, and I thank God I went out there. It's not something anyone relishes, to go and confront a stranger who may very well be perfectly innocent, but at the same time, you've got two very young girls out playing. You don't want them at risk, so you do the right thing. Okay, I'm just about to West Seattle Bridge. I just wanted to, if things were going to go sideways and really, really ugly, I wanted you to share it with me, so we'll talk to you in a bit. Things went really well in Nucor. Sometimes you can be in there 4 hours if it's a bad day. Since the steel tariffs, actually, it's gotten a lot faster in there. There's a lot less traffic. I really wish they'd lift the steel tariffs. I understand the reasons for it. I really like the idea of totally free trade. No tariffs on anything. And I know Canadian milk producers don't like that idea. They like selling their Canadian milk to Canadians, and the Americans would like a shot at that market, but they can't because of the tariffs. Well, frankly, if Americans can sell me a jug of milk cheaper than Canadians can, I don't see why I shouldn't buy American milk, honestly. And if you're a Canadian milk producer, why are they able to produce it and ship it across the border cheaper than you are? Maybe you should find out. Maybe there's a way. You know, in the trucking business, you're always looking for a way to become more competitive. That's what business is, and that's what free trade is. Where steel, no tariffs. If I can buy my steel from you cheaper than I can buy it from China, it's a better quality, then I'm going to come to you. I understand why Trump is doing what he's doing, and I think in his situation I'd probably do the same thing. Free trade is good for everybody. Get rid of the tariffs. I heard the Trudeau government had absorbed $650 million in tariffs, and that $11,000 had gone forward to small business owners. So the tariffs are doing nothing but giving the Liberal government a little more padding. That's all it's good for. It's not helping Canadians in the least. And I'm willing to bet, I really do like the view as you go into downtown Seattle. I would hate to live here, but it's nice to drive through anyways. But I'm willing to bet that $11,000 went to a friend of a friend who said, look, I need a little help. And, you know, Big Shot pulled out his wallet and counted out $11,000 right there. No big deal. It really is sad, but that seems to be the nature of governments all over the world. It's just, with absolute power comes absolute corruption. Not that Trudeau has absolute power. He does seem to have absolutely no clue. But as far as absolute power, I wouldn't go that far. This is weird to see this stretch of road so bare at 20 after 3. Usually we're all elbowing each other out of the way as we race out of town. 3 isn't a bad time to leave town, but 1 is way better. I'm going to make my way out of here as fast as I can. And I really don't think I should get my hopes up for getting home tonight. I can't see it happening. So we'll just do the best we can. Well, that's it for the week. I made it back to Kamloops today. I pulled in and I stopped the truck in the middle of the yard to log out because I had 1 minute left. And in the process of logging out, it went to 0, but it maintained an orange color on the display. If it was a violation, it would have turned red. So I was officially logged out right on the wire. It just switched to 0 in the process of logging out. So, whew, I made it all the way back to Kamloops. It has been a long day. An unload in Yakima, a reload in Seattle, and up to Kamloops. And I forgot to check my logs to see how many miles I covered today. I think it was a pretty good day. And it's been a good week. It's been a tough week, but we got to travel through the Kootenays a bit, and my back's doing a lot better. Isn't the body wonderful? It's just a miracle. You know, you have a little chemistry lab on board that goes with you everywhere you go, and if some invading enemy comes in, the scientists go to work figuring out exactly what kind of antibody they can use to kill the invader. It's really wonderful. I mean, there's so much to the human body, so much complexity. That scripture comes to mind, we're fearfully and wonderfully made. It's very true. I tweaked my back pretty good last week, and this week I was lifting my saturated waterlogged tarps close to 80 pounds up to chest height to get them up on the load, and my back took it all right. So I'm sorry there's no Bible study today. I was looking forward to this one. We will take it up on Sunday. I'm heading up to Prince George, and I hope you will come with me.